Hey dudes and dudettes, Cosmic here, and welcome back to another episode of Cosmic's Gaming Showcase. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at Peach's Castle, an interesting tech demo that was created as part of the Nintendo Gamecube Software Development Kit of May 22nd, 2001. Nintendo created this demo to, presumably, showcase the GameCube's various graphical and audio capabilities to companies interested in developing on it. Did they do a good job? Let's scour all 8 rooms in the castle to find out. You can enter all but 2 rooms via the doors scattered around the entrance here. Each door has a sign on it that tells you the name and number of the room, except for this one on the far right. You'll see what this is for later. But for now, let's enter the room on the left, the Projection Texture Cinema Theater. Oh baby, this music, man. I love it. Anyway, if it wasn't already obvious, the name of every room corresponds to what's being tested by the GameCube's hardware. In this case, it's projection texturing. The technique isn't unique to the GameCube or anything, or even the rest of the 6th generation consoles. This room was probably just made to show companies that Nintendo finally had enough storage space to actually use this feature, since they switched from using cartridges to using a mini DVD-like format. The earliest example of projection texturing I can think of is in the school level in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 on the PS1. Ah, memories. But anyway, we spent enough time in this room. On to the next room. Okay, this is probably my least favorite room. It's environment mapping. Metal Mario! In here you can see a revolving statue of Metal Mario mapping the environment onto his body, and that's about it really. Of course, the environment being mapped is beautiful, and the music is fantastically melancholy as usual, but to me at least, it's the least impressive of all the rooms. It did its job well enough though, I think. Alright then, let's go somewhere else. Like right over here. The purpose of this barren room is to show people how many polygons can be displayed at once without the software lagging. As long as you don't turn on wireframe mode for some reason. If you leave this mode on, you can actually see the other rooms low when you get close to the door, which is pretty cool. Before we move on to the next room, let's play around with the wireframe mode a bit longer. You can enable it any time by pressing the Y button. Now let's take a look at this beautiful chandelier. Kinda reminds me of the tears a lot from Twilight Princess. Look at all those sexy triangles. Steamy, isn't it? Oh, that's not your kink? Ah, well, it doesn't really matter. But what does matter is the next room we're about to enter, the huge texture dome. Now this room here was obviously made to show that the GameCube could display huge textures, and while the gorgeous mural will be the first thing to grab your attention, it's obvious that the star of the show is this large octagonal texture of a power star on the ground. It'll display itself differently depending on the map settings in the pause menu. Setting it to normal will cause it to display a single power star. Setting it to off will cause it to display as hundreds of tiny power stars. And, finally, setting it to expensive will display it as a large power star from a distance, but when you move the camera towards it, it'll slowly fade into tiny power stars again, which I think is a pretty cool effect. But we can't stay here and marvel at it too long, so I say, on to the next room. This next room is the last one you can enter via the entrance, and my personal favorite, Bump and Shadow Spiral Staircase. Let's go! Look at this serene majesty. If there were only one room in this castle that I could have built into my house, it'd be this one. But enough of me lusting after beautiful architecture. Let me quickly explain bump mapping in the simplest way possible. Basically, it makes textures look like they have bumps in them so that they'll appear more realistic. But the actual shape of the object hasn't changed. It's only an illusion. Most games that use this technique were aiming for a more realistic look, such as the Resident Evil series for example. But even some games with a cartoonish art style like Zelda the Wind Waker snuck in some bump mapping here and there, namely on the Mirror Shield and the Rito Heart. You'd expect a game like, Luigi's Mansion to use it quite often, but for some reason, it's only used in one single spot in the entire game. Where is it? On one random wall going down to the basement. Pretty weird. Alright, next room, the anti-aliasing hangar. Okay, this room's supposed to eliminate the aliasing you're seeing all over the place, hence the name. But they either screwed up, or they only optimized the room with CRT TVs in mind. Obviously the latter. Not too many people were playing games on HD TVs back then, and it would have been a waste of time and resources to optimize this demo for it. If you're wondering what aliasing is, it's basically another word for jaggies, or the stair-step effect you see when there's not enough pixels in the image to represent something in its native resolution realistically. Okay, let's actually talk about the room now. Well, the only thing noteworthy I have to say beyond "this place looks cool" is that it's a shame they didn't have the sky pod from Super Mario Land here instead of this random plane. Or that this metallic pipe over there looks somewhat out of place. You know what? Let's enter it. See where it takes us. What? The pipe's green now? Whatever. We're now in the local lighting cave. Local lighting is pretty self-explanatory, so I'll spare you the technical details. Don't worry about these signs here. There's no bats anywhere. I've already checked. Those are the least of my concerns, though. What I want to know is, why does Peach have a cave like this in her basement? I guess it could be a makeshift bomb shelter of sorts in an undisclosed location, since we don't end up in the same exact spot if we take the pipe again for some reason. I'll talk about where it ends up in a second. Alright, here we got a lovely statue of a Goomba, with a light shining on him locally via a revolving light bulb. Gives off a creepy vibe, doesn't it? Okay, before we leave, I want to show you that there's also some rock formations in the shape of Goombas over here out of bounds. Wait, are these natural formations or prototype builds for the statue up there? I guess we'll never know. Okay, let's jump back into the pipe and get out of here. What? We're back at the entrance? Yep. If you were wondering what the deal with that door over there was, now you know it's a one-way exit from the cave. For some reason. Okay, dudes and dudettes, it's about time for me to end the video. But before I do, there's two more things I want to show you right quick. The first thing's the map here in the entrance. If you look at it hard enough, you'll notice that the text is either Englishy or slightly different. Probably because this map was made before the demo was finalized. And they didn't bother correcting it because, well, this is just a tech demo, not a consumer product. The second thing I want to show you is a separate game mode in the main menu here called Auto Demo. The name's pretty self-explanatory, plus you can see what's happening on screen so I don't gotta say nothing. But I will mention that you can still pause, turn on the wireframes, and do a few more things from the normal demo. If you want to watch this entire auto demo uncut, then click the link in the description below, or click the card in the top right corner. Alright guys, that'll just about do it. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be back here with another one in about a week or two.